Welcome to ILTV's Israel Daily. I'm Lauren Izzo, and coming up in this edition, it's official, the peace agreement between Israel and the UAE takes off with the first ever direct flight. We will take you to Abu Dhabi. Then, would you relocate during a global pandemic? Well, this family did. We'll speak to some brave souls who moved their entire lives across the ocean to Israel despite COVID-19. And a whale shark is spotted off the coast of Eilat. And just in time for International Whale Shark Day. Yes, it exists. A historic day for Israel and its ties to the Arab world. For the first time ever, a direct flight landing in Abu Dhabi after taking off this morning from Tel Aviv's Ben Gurion Airport. The first sign that the new peace deal between Israel and the UAE is taking off. Son-in-law and senior advisor to the U.S. President Jared Kushner flew to Israel on Sunday so that he could be on that inaugural flight. Take a look. Ben Gurion Airport's check-in counter was especially busy this morning as passengers lined up to board a flight that is set to change the course of history. The first direct flight from Tel Aviv to Abu Dhabi. The flight is the first step in normalization between Israel and the UAE, after the U.S. brokered a peace deal between the two countries, setting the stage for a new Middle East. Among the delegation of U.S. officials is son-in-law and senior advisor to President Trump, Jared Kushner.
We had a great meeting with Prime Minister Netanyahu yesterday, and what I heard from him is that he has full trust and confidence in President Trump to do what is right, to protect Israel, to make sure that he further strengthens the defense relationship that we have. We have something in America called the QME that obviously helps us work with Israel very well. But with the United Arab Emirates, we have a 30-year military relationship with them. We have a lot of great systems with them, and I do believe that part of this deal is about bringing everyone forward and bringing everyone together. And I do believe that Prime Minister Netanyahu sees the opportunities that can come out of this partnership, and that's why he's been so forward-leaning in helping us create this historic peace breakthrough. But I think that all of this is hopefully a manifestation of what is possible in the Middle East. We're seeing today, over the last years, people have spoken about all of the bad things that have happened in the Middle East and all of the conflict and the chaos and the division that has existed for the last decades. But I do believe that this is ushering in a new hopefulness amongst all people that peace is possible and that there's a new chapter that can be written. And I just want to acknowledge that this has been President Trump's vision for the Middle East from the very beginning. He's had to do a lot of unconventional things. He's moved a lot of plates around, but as you see, the results speak for themselves. And so President Trump has shown today that he could bring people together, and it also took great leadership between the Crown Prince, Mohammed bin Zayed, and Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu. And while the leadership did a great job, this peace is something that's being very, very warmly welcomed by all the people. The people want to get together very quickly. There's a lot of people who want to do cultural exchange, who want to do business, and they want to live their lives. And so that's what makes me very hopeful, and did from the beginning about the Middle East, is that the people were in a different place from the politicians, and they were in a different place from what all the experts were telling us the region had to be. So I come today to you very, very hopeful and optimistic about what's possible, and just thank you all for joining us on this historic journey.
He landed in Israel on Sunday, managing to carry out meetings and visits to holy sites ahead of the flight. Kushner staging a press photo op at the Western Wall in Jerusalem's Old City. Holding significant importance and history for Muslims and Jews, Jerusalem has become a divisive issue in the Middle East peace process and still divides Israelis and Palestinians. The Israeli Prime Minister saying in a press conference on Sunday that Middle East peace no longer needs to include the Palestinians.
If we have to wait for the Palestinians, we would have to wait forever. Well, no longer. Two things have changed that. The first thing is the Trump plan, and the second thing is the willingness of Arab states, supported enormously by the United States of America to advance peace without a Palestinian veto.
Whether or not Middle East peace can be achieved without the Palestinians, the new peace accord with the UAE is certainly taking off, and only time will tell which countries will follow suit. Lauren Izzo, ILTV. There were also journalists on that flight documenting history in the making. Reuters correspondent Dan Williams was among the press team, and he filed the next report.
This El Al jet behind me is making aviation history by being the first Israeli airliner to fly directly from Tel Aviv to Abu Dhabi, the capital of United Arab Emirates. Its passengers, a senior mixed delegation of US and Israeli officials, intend to make Middle East history while in Abu Dhabi by putting the finishing touches on a normalization deal between Israel and the Gulf power. The captain's just come over the PA system to announce that this El Al airliner has crossed into Saudi airspace. Now, overflight rights may be a trifling matter elsewhere. In the Middle East, they're very significant, not least because Saudi Arabia does not recognize Israel and heretofore did not allow publicly acknowledged Israeli flights to overfly its territory. There are no doubt people aboard this plane who are hoping that this gesture by Saudi Arabia may presage future normalization with Israel. After a 3-hour and 20-minute flight overflying Saudi Arabia, this El Al airliner from Israel has landed in Abu Dhabi, the capital of UAE, bringing with it the senior delegation of US and Israeli officials here to put the final touches on the normalization deal between Israel and UAE, a deal that could be solemnized, signed at the White House as early as 2 or 3 weeks from now. On board, Jared Kushner, senior advisor to President Trump, National Security Advisor of the United States, O'Brien, briefing reporters making clear that they think this step, while historic in itself, could be a prelude to other accommodations in the Middle East, engagement by other Arab and Muslim countries that have yet to establish formal ties with Israel. As for the Palestinians, who feel sidelined and even betrayed by this deal, Kushner made clear that the Trump administration remains open to them joining the U.S. peace initiative. However, he said they won't be chased by the Americans. The United States is busy enough and contented enough to pursue regional diplomacy.
Staying in the Middle East, but moving to Lebanon, a stark warning for Israel from Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrallah on Sunday, promising to kill an Israeli soldier to avenge the death of one of its fighters killed in Syria. The group claims he was hit by an Israeli airstrike in July. Following tensions this week, Nasrallah said he is uninterested in a conflict.
في معادلة بدنا نثبتها. حكون صريح اليوم أكثر من أي وقت مضى بهالمعادلة. خل الإسرائيل يفهم عندما تقتل أحد مجاهدينا سنقتل أحد جنودكم. أود أن أقول اليوم نحن منفتحون على أي نقاش هادئ في هذا المجال. يعني في مجال الوصول إلى عقد سياسي جديد. لكن لدينا شرط أن يكون هذا النقاش وهذا الحوار الوطني بإرادة ورضا مختلف الفئات اللبنانية.
Meanwhile, Israel is grappling with another enemy on the health front. COVID-19 is not going anywhere anytime soon, and as schools get ready to reopen tomorrow, the government is buckling down and making important decisions about a safe and slow but steady return to normalcy. How will the new school year work? Can Israelis travel without quarantine? Everything you need to know in the next report.
September 1st, the start of the new school year, is just one day away. And with the global pandemic, parents are understandably nervous about letting their little ones out into the big world. Teachers have also been worrying about returning to the classroom and had threatened a strike over health concerns. But Israel's education minister, speaking to Ynet earlier, said there's absolutely nothing to worry about.
זה שלמעשה בתי הספר הם בכלל אי של יציבות, של משמעת ושל שמירת בריאות כתוצאה מהפיקוח ולא להפך. מה שאנחנו ראינו לאורך זמן, כולל בבתי הספר של החופש הגדול, זה שתלמידים נדבקים בשיעור של פחות מרבע מהאוכלוסייה הכללית, ולכן עדיף שיהיו גם בבתי הספר מאשר יהיו בחוץ.
Meanwhile, Israel's head coronavirus official will be implementing a traffic light program, labeling each Israeli city with one of 3 colors, red, yellow, or green, according to the severity of cases. Each color will come with a different level of restrictions. In addition to the United Arab Emirates, 8 other countries have been added to the list of quarantine-free travel destinations for Israelis. Australia, Uruguay, Ireland, Taiwan, Norway, Singapore, Portugal, and Thailand. And if you don't want to go that far, Israeli tourists will now be allowed to cross the Egyptian border to Sinai after a months-long closure. Since Sunday, Israel's health ministry has recorded 1,102 new cases, including 123 in critical condition, and the death toll has reached 922. Nittany Manson, ILTV.
Since March 2020, thousands of Jews made Aliyah to Israel, all during a global pandemic. Now, that number includes more than 2,000 children who immigrated to Israel to start studying in the Israeli education system for the first time, from kindergarten to high school. The Ministry of Aliyah and Absorption held an event at the Mini Israel Museum yesterday, especially for 120 children who immigrated to Israel this year from different countries, from the former Soviet Union, France, Ethiopia, North America, Latin America, and more. And they will go to first grade at their new school in Israel. Sarah Rappaport and her 3 daughters, who immigrated to Israel this past June despite the coronavirus, are joining us now to tell us all about starting a new school year. Hi, guys.
Thank you so much for having us.
Sure. Okay, Sarah, I want to start with you. You moved to a different country during a global pandemic. Why did you decide to do that, and what was that like?
Well, last year already we had wanted to come to Israel, and we started the process. We weren't 100% sure, but when Corona came in, I don't know if you know, most of the world caught the Corona, and we also did catch it in the middle of March. Oh, wow. And after we've had it and we suffered through a lot of complications, it seemed like a big Yeshua when we received the approval from the Minister of Immigration of Israel. And when we got that letter saying that we could come, and all that we've been through, it just made total sense to us to just take a plane and come. We were really ready.
Yeah, well, glad to see that you guys are healthy and that you made it here. If you could just tell me the names of your daughters and what grades they're going into, and how would you say they're feeling about starting a new school in this situation?
This is Liana, and this is Salome Esther, and this is Tiferet, and all of them are very excited to make new friends.
I am Esther.
Salome Esther. And they're very excited to make new friends, to go back to school, to have teachers, to learn new things.
I'm just curious how you feel about sending your kids back to school, face-to-face learning during the pandemic. Are you comfortable with it? Do you feel safe that your kids are going to be in school full-time?
I feel completely safe. After what we've been through, I know what Corona was and is now. I've had friends here who caught the Corona here. It seemed to me that it's way less impressive than before. People get sick but get better very fast. What we've been through in New York is a total different situation. People were going to the hospital and dying, and that's not really happening so much here. So we're not really scared. We're quite confident that tomorrow, the first day of school, will go smoothly. And I hope, Ezrat Hashem, that we'll be able to keep going to school this year.
All right, we hope so too. I hope you girls have a wonderful first day of school and a great year. Thank you so much for being on our show today.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Israelis are redesigning how blind people navigate. A new mapping system is being developed by researchers from Haifa's Technion University. The system, in place now all over the world, uses a system of buttons, sensors, and tones to alert the visually impaired when they can or can't cross the street. But this new system is far more advanced. A social media-inspired collaborative map will allow information to be crowdsourced from users in order to enhance the experience of those who need it. It will also suggest routes safer for the blind, opposed to the regular routes suggested by Google Maps. An Israeli aid delegation has landed in San Francisco to help put out the huge wildfires in California. The delegation includes firefighters, experts in the field of forest fire rescue, as well as a representative from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. The team will be on location to assist for 2 whole weeks. The State Department, the U.S. Embassy in Israel, and the Israeli consulate in San Francisco are behind this collaboration. Now, Shlomi Kaufman, Israel's Consul General to the Pacific Northwest, is joining us now to tell us about this mission. Thank you so much for joining us so early in the morning.
Thank you, Laura, and thank you for inviting me. It's great to be with you.
Happy to have you. Now, California is facing this deadly wave of fires that has already killed many in its path and caused a major loss of property. What is the situation there at the moment?
Well, I think it's getting better, and the California firefighters are succeeding to contain it more and more. But still, it's the devastation. The fires are covering a pretty big area, and they continue to fight it. But it's I hope it's going to get better, although we're still in the what's called the fire season.
So when did you realize that at the consulate that you had to help, bring a team here, bring firefighters here, and what exactly did you offer in this conversation?
So when we saw the fires, we reached out and asked how can we help and what can be done, because we see this devastation. We saw it like 2 years ago with Paradise, and we decided to reach out and to ask the question. And the response was, we'll be happy to have people. We'll be happy to help. So it took the foreign ministry about 72 hours to organize everything on the ground in Israel, contact the U.S. Embassy, work, of course, with the firefighters department, and to put this amazing team of 10 firefighters coming from Israel, representing the state of Israel at its best.
It's obviously a really great initiative. Now tell me, how many people are in the Israeli delegation that landed yesterday, and what areas are they focusing on helping with?
So there are about 10 people, all firefighters, plus a liaison from the foreign ministry. And the firefighters are coming from different expertise, from rescue, from wildfires, from diving, and so on. So the delegation constitutes of people that can answer different areas of expertise, and this is the beauty. They're coming from all over the country, from all over Israel, from different stations. And we're really thrilled to have them here representing the state of Israel on the ground, getting connected with the California firefighters, but at the same time also bringing a message of friendship, of solidarity, a message that we say, we're your friends, we're here to stand with you. And as you stood with us in the past, when you said the super tankers and firefighters to Israel.
This is not the first time that California has suffered from wildfires, but is this the first time that an Israeli delegation has come to help them with the wildfires?
Yes, this is the first time it's happening. Because the way we contacted and we asked, and the magnitude of the first people.
I'm sorry to stop you right there. You're just cutting out a bit. Would you mind just repeating that answer, if you don't mind?
I'm saying I said that this is the first time we're dispatching this group of firefighters, because I think also the magnitude of the wildfires this time, and the damage and it's basically covering an area which is equivalent to a quarter of Israel's area. This is how it started about 10 days ago, and I think this is what allowed also this group, or created the situation that we could bring this group to work with California firefighters.
Are there any delegations from other countries that are part of the team that's helping put out the fires?
Well, I'm not sure about that. I know that at least in the press it was mentioned that there were maybe Australians and Canadians. In the past, they had the Australians arrive, but I'm not aware of the current situation.
And finally, how much do you think this extra set of helping hands is going to help with the situation?
Look, I think every person in this situation helps. And it's also supporting the moral and the spirit and the friendship between the two nations and the two people.
All right, Shlomi Kaufman joining us very early in the morning from California. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lauren, to be with you.
Idan Rol, a member of Knesset from the Yesh Atid party, is helping change the face of Israel's parliament, announcing Sunday that he would bring on a transgender woman to work as an advisor on his team, a first for Israel's Knesset. Lenore Abergil, who heads the Trans Israel organization, will focus on LGBTQ rights on the national stage in her new position. This is a major stride for Israel's transgender community. And now for a little update from the world of entertainment and culture. We have Emmanuel Kadosh with us to give us the rundown. Emmanuel, take it away.
Hey, Lauren. So today I wanted to focus on giving a little women appreciation story and highlight one woman in particular who is actually the only Israeli on the 11th annual Fast Company list of most creative people in business, founder and CEO Ina Braverman.
Okay, I want to hear a little bit more about Ina Braverman and her company and also about this list.
All right, so first off, this list is meant to honor 74 women and men from companies that vary from Netflix to Google. Braverman herself is actually the founder of the Israeli clean energy company EcoWave Power, and she founded it back in 2011 when she was just 24 years old. She says that her main goal over the years has always been to revolutionize the renewable energy sector, and she said, quote, as climate change presents an increasingly urgent challenge, we need lots of creative thinking to preserve our planet.
Wow, she founded this company at such a young age, and she's the only Israeli to make the list. It's really such an honor, not only to see an Israeli CEO get recognized, but to have a woman on this list. It's all the more empowering. Tell me, Emmanuel, how does this technology work?
So from what I understood, the floaters actually draw energy from the waves in the water and then in turn convert the motions of the waves into clean energy generation process. Of course, there's so much more to this technology that I personally do not understand fully, but once you check out the website, you can definitely get a better understanding of how this revolutionary technology will really change our planet.
Well, I will definitely have to check that out because I've heard some pretty remarkable things about this company, but I know that this is actually not their first time being praised for her accomplishments, right?
That's right. She actually was recognized as CNN Tomorrow's Heroes. She also made the Wired lists of female changing the world, and as of recently, she was awarded the UN Global Climate Action Award in the category of Women for Results, as well as shortlisted for the UE's Prize for Women Innovators in 2020. So she has a lot to be proud of.
Definitely. She is clearly a very bright and innovative woman, and I'm sure this won't be the last time we hear of Ina Braverman. Emmanuel, thanks so much for the update.
Of course.
Moving on now, boy, is it hot. For the last week in Israel, temperatures soared, nearing 50 degrees Celsius or 122 degrees Fahrenheit. So naturally, everyone in Israel cranked up their air conditioners. And because of that, on Sunday afternoon, the electricity consumption in Israel hit an all-time high, hitting an astonishing 14,089 megawatts. The heat wave is expected to continue, but still the health ministry urging the public to wear masks in public, regardless of the intense summer heat. Now, let's take a look at the weather forecast. The heat wave is not quite over yet. Tonight will be a high of 80 degrees Fahrenheit or 27 degrees Celsius, and tomorrow a high of 90 degrees Fahrenheit or 32 Celsius. But please go easy on those air conditioners. And now, before we go, let's take a look at what's going viral in Israel. You probably didn't know this because I certainly did not, but yesterday was International Whale Shark Day. Yes, that is a real thing. Well, it just so happens that on that same day, an Israeli diver spotted a whale shark from his boat floating just off the coast of Eilat. And as you can hear from his excitement, this is a rare sighting. By the way, here's a fun fact. The intricate patterns on the backs of these whales also help identify them, since each pattern is completely unique. All right, that is all for today's news. Today's exchange rate is 3.36 shekels to the American dollar. For more news from ILTV, please like ILTV on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube and Roku TV pages. I'm Lauren Izzo. Thank you so much for watching.